You're sitting in a room with someone you love. Nobody is talking. 10 seconds pass. Then 20. Your chest tightens. You reach for your phone or you blurt out something meaningless just to fill the space. Why did that happen? You didn't choose it. Something older than you made that decision. For most of human history, silence didn't mean peace. It meant something was wrong. Think about it. A forest full of birdsong and insect noise is a forest that's safe. The moment that noise stops, every creature nearby understands the same thing. A predator is close. Silence was never neutral to your ancestors. Silence was data. And the data usually meant danger. Your brain still runs that old software. You just don't notice it anymore, because you've never had to. Psychologists have spent decades trying to measure this exact discomfort. In 2014, a researcher named Timothy Wilson ran a study at the University of Virginia that became famous almost by accident. He put people alone in a plain room with nothing to do but think. No phone, no book, just their own mind for 15 minutes. Simple, right? Except many participants hated it so much that, given the option, they chose to give themselves a mild electric shock rather than sit with their own thoughts in silence. Some had said earlier they would pay money to avoid being shocked. Then, alone with nothing but quiet, they shocked themselves anyway, just to have something happen. That wasn't boredom. That was your nervous system screaming that something felt unsafe. Here's where it gets stranger. Silence isn't actually neutral even at the level of your ears. Neuroscientist Robert Zatorre and his colleagues at McGill University have studied how the brain processes gaps in sound, and they found something counterintuitive. Silence isn't the absence of a signal to your brain. It's a signal of its own. Your auditory cortex, the part of your brain built to process sound, lights up in response to silence almost the way it lights up in response to noise. Your brain treats quiet as information. It treats quiet as something to interpret. And when there's nothing obvious to interpret, it starts generating its own explanations, usually anxious ones. So when a conversation goes quiet, you're not just experiencing an absence, you're experiencing a live signal your ancestors' brains would have used to scan for threat. Now layer on something else. Humans are the only species that evolved language as a constant social bonding tool, not just a warning system. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar has argued that human conversation evolved as a replacement for grooming. Other primates spend hours physically grooming each other to build trust and social bonds. Humans can't groom 100 people a day. There isn't enough time. So instead, we talk. Casual conversation, small talk, gossip, checking in, all of it functions the way grooming does for chimpanzees. It says, I see you. You're safe with me. We're still connected. Which means silence between two people isn't just quiet. It's the sudden absence of the bonding signal your brain expects to keep receiving. No wonder it feels like something is broken. Think about the last awkward silence you sat through. It probably wasn't actually awkward. Nobody was in danger. Nobody was rejecting anyone. But your body reacted as if the social bond itself had gone missing, and it scrambled to fix that immediately. A joke, a question, a glance at your phone, anything to restart the signal. Here's the twist that changes everything. This discomfort isn't universal in the way you'd expect. Cultural psychologists have found that the tolerance for silence varies dramatically depending on where you grew up. In Finland, extended pauses in conversation are considered completely normal, even comfortable. A Finnish conversation can include long stretches of silence without anyone feeling the need to fill it. In the United States, that same silence, after just a few seconds, starts to feel like tension in the room. That means the discomfort you feel isn't hardwired destiny. It's partly a habit your culture trained into you. The ancient alarm system is real, but how loudly it rings depends on what you were taught silence means. And this is where your phone comes in. You already reach for it the moment a room goes quiet. Not because you're bored, because your nervous system is asking for a bonding signal, and your phone is the fastest way to manufacture one. A notification, a scroll, a message from someone. Each one gives your brain a tiny hit, of the same reassurance a conversation would have given it around a fire 40,000 years ago. Your ancestors sought connection to survive the night. You seek it to survive an elevator ride. There's a modern mirror to Wilson's shock experiment that almost nobody talks about. Researchers have since found that even short exposure to enforced silence, without a phone, without a task, without another person, produces measurable spikes in self-reported discomfort within the first few minutes. Not hours, minutes. Your body doesn't wait to decide silence is uncomfortable. It decides almost instantly, the same way it would decide instantly that the birds had stopped singing. So what do you do with that? You don't need to fear silence. You need to recognize what it actually is. It isn't emptiness. It's a very old alarm bell, ringing for a threat that mostly doesn't exist anymore. Your ancestors needed that alarm to survive predators in the dark. You inherited the alarm, but not the predators. Some researchers now argue that learning to sit inside silence, on purpose, without immediately reaching for a distraction, is one of the few ways to actually retrain that old alarm. Not to silence it completely, you can't. It's wired in too deep. But to teach your nervous system, slowly, that quiet doesn't always mean danger. That a pause in conversation doesn't mean the bond is gone. That sitting with your own mind for a few minutes won't hurt you, even though every ancient instinct insists otherwise. Next time a room goes quiet, notice what happens in your body before you fill it. Notice the urge to grab your phone, or joke, or ask a question just to make the silence stop. That urge isn't random. It's 40,000 years old. Tonight, when the room goes quiet, you won't reach for your phone right away. You'll just sit there. And for the first time, you'll understand exactly why that felt so hard.